Welcome back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name is Courtney Shand, and I'm hosting with my dear friend Brianna Mosier.
Hi.
The intention of the show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural masculine and feminine energetic core. Feels like a mouthful. But we have some really juicy stuff to talk about today. So before we dive in, I want Bri to introduce herself. I'll introduce myself, and we will get straight to it.
Yes.
Bri,
Let's do it.
tell my friends who you are, what you do, the magic you bring to the world.
My work in the world is helping really driven, high-achieving women attract and find healthy love and come into their empowered feminine energy. My background's in psychology, but also sex, love, and intimacy work based on somatic methods. So I'm partial to body-based healing and somatic-based ways of healing through the body. And Courtney's work is very similar. Tell the people what you do.
Yes, I work as a trauma-informed dietitian and relationship coach. I find that a lot of times when women are disconnected from their body, it's really difficult for them to experience the health outcomes that they want, either in their day-to-day life. Their whole life is kind of stacked against them. They feel like they're always hustling and receiving less support than what they desire. So the female body is not set up for that. So I love turning that on its head, helping you get the social and emotional piece regulated, and then the body naturally falls back in line. So I love taking it from the body up as opposed to from the head down. So I think we have a lot of overlap in that way, both being trained in more somatic-based techniques. Today, we have a really amazing topic. Last time we talked a little bit about New Year goals, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the healing journey.
Yes.
What it is, what
Treacherous.
it's like, adventurous, courageous,
amazing,
terrifying,
terrible.
all the things. We're going to talk all about it.
Yes.
Because before we started recording, this was a preview of our conversation, and we were like, it's on brand for the podcast. We just need to put a microphone down and continue the conversation. So welcome to our living room, our friendship, and you're just in the middle of it.
Yeah, we were both
which we love.
friend chatting about the healing journey.
Yeah.
You know what?
I bet our other friends would probably value this too. Yeah. So here you are. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. So normally I think when people approach healing, some of the rubs they get into are they feel like it's a never-ending journey. Like forever and ever, amen, you're going to be healing. Not in an empowering way, which we'll talk about in a minute, but in this tumultuous, heavy load that they have to carry. And then they start beating up on themselves, and it's almost like, what's the point anyway? Because it's going to take all my life, and can I just deal with these things and suffer? And like usually puts people in this pattern of sometimes feast and famine, right? Like hustle really hard with the healing work and then drop it all because you're exhausted, beat up on yourself. It's never going to work. It's never happening. So I think the approach to this is what we really want to address, that no matter where you are, you gain a little bit of self-compassion and understanding, let yourself off the hook, which is actually going to help you heal a lot faster, right? What do you see in your clients when they're approaching healing journey from not the best perspective?
Yeah, I would say my clients tend to fall into the hopeless camp of like, I'm never going to figure this out. I'm always going to struggle with this. This is never getting better. I'm back here again. I've already figured this out. I should have already figured this out. There's a lot of like self doubt and downward spiral that shows up when my clients are in this space. And this would probably be where I would go to if I were in a not healthy mind space. So I get it. I really do hear this and have a lot of compassion for this because I have been there.
Yeah, especially in the relationship space too. I think people get very confused about, okay, conscious relationship is supposed to help me grow. But sometimes if you don't have a really informed perspective on that, that can lead you to constantly turning in on yourself and feeling like something's always wrong with you, depending on the other person in that relationship, right?
Yes.
Like, are they a healthy and empowered person also? Or is this manipulation? You know what I mean? And I can just tell you from my background, those of you who listen to my story, that's what made healing very confusing for me. Because there's actually a point in the healing journey where the healing is not turning in on yourself and trusting yourself and your boundaries and needs and wants, desires. But if you've grown up in a dysfunctional household in childhood, or you've had abusive or manipulative or even emotionally immature, really, we don't even need a big fat word for it, just like emotionally not there partners, you can say, okay, what can I do? How can I fix it? What do I need to change about myself?
What is this showing me?
Which is actually causing a lot more wounding at times. This is the hard part, is it's murky water, right?
Yep.
Sometimes that's really helpful. Sometimes it's pretty detrimental.
Retraumatizing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're there, we're with you. We want to give you some support today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because I really, until I learned the idea of retraumatization, it didn't occur to me that I was overtaxing my nervous system for the sake of healing. And it was just creating more of that loop, just a little eddy here that I would get stuck in.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
Yeah, glad you said that.
So what would you give to the people who are relating to these points of contention with healing, right? What's a reframe they can start implementing today?
I would say that the most empowering reframe, that when I have found myself in this point of like, I'm never going to figure it out, oh my gosh, I'm stuck here forever.
Yeah.
Is to recalibrate what healing looks like. That healed for me gets to look like healed for me, not healed from a like blanket collective high level approach, very like black and white, I'm healed or I'm not. But healed gets to look progressive for me, that I get to define like, this is actually what healed looks like for my system. And that can be really simply just learning, like, that just doesn't work for me right now. Okay, that doesn't work for me right now. There was so much healing in just that alone, of just realizing this is just a boundary for me. What if it was?
Period.
What if it wasn't something to fix and heal? Maybe I'm just not, that's just not available to me right now. Okay.
Yeah, well said. One of the things we also wanted to share, which ties right in with that concept, is this idea of self-understanding versus, by the way, jury's out if we know if this is a word or not. We don't know.
It's our show.
Courtney said I could, guys. She said I could use it. I asked her before the show. She said yes. Self-intellectualization.
I
think it's a word.
I think the concept is there. It's valid. I support you.
The difference being, and my clients, my high achieving, driven women, I love you so much. You're too smart for your own good sometimes.
I know the truth. Isn't that the truth?
You're too smart. You're too what you would call self-aware. And you usually love psychology and why we are the way we are. You might have grown up in dysfunctional homes where you had to tiptoe around people and try to figure everyone else out, because empathy is sometimes a learned skill to get by in tumultuous environments. Not always this like innate thing that we think it is, you know, when people say I'm an empath, right? So as a result, you probably grew up learning how to figure out why people behave the way they do and kind of how to contort around that. But you also turn in on yourself a lot and go, well, why do I behave that way? And where does that come from? And how can I fix it? And this is because of childhood way back when, and that's why I'm this way. And I really need to work on that. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's a really good stepping stone in your healing journey. The next step that a lot of people don't arrive at, and honestly, Courtney and I support women with this exact step all the time because it can be foreign. Is self-understanding, which is, yes, I understand, you know, I've been through trauma and abuse and these things, and that makes sense to me. So what do I now need? There's no judgment. There's no I need to fix it. It's just, what do I now need? You know, my sorry, were you going to say something?
No,
I'm just listening.
I'm fangirling.
She's
I'm like,
just listening.
Yes.
My partner knows that I've been through relationship trauma. We've talked about it. And in the beginning of our relationship, I would turn in so much on myself. Like, I need to fix this. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect at this, because there are genuine things that I really do want to work on, but it's not to earn love. It's for my own peace. Right? That's the difference. Is like, I'm not doing this to keep my partner because I know he's going to love me regardless. I work on these things because I deserve peace, because I want to be able to enjoy my beautiful relationship. And so part of that was owning with him, like, yes, this is my background and what I've been through. And because of that, I know I need like one of the things I remember was a lot of emotional reassurance. I really just need you to be able to listen and tell me that it makes sense to feel how I feel. Is that something you can do? And we would, negotiate it back and forth, and he's amazing at it. But that was the difference, is before I used to turn in and judge myself, and now I'm like, well, it makes sense that I've been through that and I need that. And for this season, that's a really great phrasing to take with you if you take nothing else. Yes. This is what I need. So all the time I support clients in this transition from abusive backgrounds to healthy relationships, because they're just different skill sets. The skills that you use to survive in an unhealthy relationship don't translate to a thriving relationship. You don't get to thrive and play small and shrink and not say what you think and doing poetry out here now and turn in on yourself all the time. Like, healthy relationship skills require self-expression and self-acceptance and understanding. Those are the gaps that we feel often for clients.
100%. And I love that you, that's one of my favorite ways that you explain it of, shoot, I was so absorbed in what you were saying.
I distracted you because I was putting my water down so slowly.
No, I was listening and I was like, ooh, flag that. I want to, but
yeah,
one of those concepts, one of my favorite things that you say. Gold. A very Brie-ism that I think is absolutely genius. But exactly, this is something that I think the mainstream healing space does well enough to bring awareness at some level. And for the right woman who's high on the end of conscientiousness and usually is more ambitious and has a lot of ability to produce and connect and do a lot with her energy. Like, several of my clients are therapists. Like, these are not uninformed women. It's just that the education stops there. And for this particular woman, she will get sucked into the next logical step in her wiring is to navel gaze, micro, zoom in on all of the pieces of what's wrong with her. That there must be something about me that's causing this. And it is so alluring to the wounded parts of our feminine energy to want to find an answer. And all that does is keep you spinning in your thoughts. And I can promise you, and Brie will too, it's not a thinking thing. It's not that you're not capable of thinking your way through this. You can't think your way through this. That's the problem.
So feminine energy.
Thank you.
That's what feminine energy is, right?
Yes.
It's the felt embodiment, alive experience. Masculine tends to be more here in the head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we coach a lot on embodiment and getting women back in their bodies, and that's a huge skill for actual healing work. We sell you on the sexiness and the magnetism and that you're gonna feel so good and in love and free and radiant, and you're gonna have to do a lot of really hard healing work. That you're gonna have to feel your feelings, just so you know before you decide, I really want to work with Courtney or Brie. Just know that you're gonna have to feel some things.
The work isn't sexy. I was just talking to a client about this week of the initial work feels really sexy because it's this new
so
awareness.
Yes.
And this is what I've been missing. And I call it the panacea of this is the one thing that I've been missing where I can solve all of my problems and never have to look at myself in that self-deprecating way again. And the reality is the more that you're doing the healing, or at least this is the reality that I have seen in myself and observed in clients, the more that you get into the healing, the smaller the scale gets, the harder it's going to be to integrate. Not harder, but the more uncomfortable it's going to feel to integrate. So these broad brushstrokes feel amazing, and it's this high of oh my gosh, I love this. This is amazing. And that's kind of what drew you, I'm sure, to the psychology, to healing talk, all of those things. And then the healing work of bringing it into your body is to be able to hold the discomfort on a smaller, moment by moment scale. And it feels uncomfortable. So it's not terribly sexy. The work is not terribly sexy.
What you just said reminded me so much of relationship phases. When you get in a relationship and there's that limerence honeymoon phase.
Yes.
Oh my God. And if you keep it high level, it can feel like limerence for a while. But when you really start to develop true intimacy, which requires a lot of vulnerability and taking your mask off and seeing the human in front of you.
Go there. Yes. I'm like, we're just like
ping pong
jamming right now. Yeah.
That is when it gets real and it gets hard and messy, you know. And I think, I don't know, I just don't trust anybody that says like relationships should be easy all the time. That's just not my experience. There are some really hard moments, and they're usually because I'm having to look at a part of me that is hard to look at, hard to feel through, you know, hard to give love and compassion, right? Like there's so much self-judgment. And I imagine whoever you're with, the counterpart, if they're as empowered and devoted as you are, they have those moments. And then you have to learn how to heal within yourselves and heal together. It's not sexy, but the result is sexy.
The result's sexy. Yes.
The result is nice.
The result is...
Chef's kiss.
Yes.
12 out of 10.
Yes.
Elite.
Yes. It's so worth it. It's like anything else. It's so worth the process, but I don't want to sell you on some idea that the process is glamorous, because there's no work of art where the process is as glamorous. Well, okay, go with me there. But like, you know, the outcome is what you have in mind. Bringing it into fruition is a beautiful process. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the same.
And really what we want to lighten off your load today is that you get to enjoy the healing process. So a lot of people hear that and they get overwhelmed with, it's going to be this tumultuous, heavy journey and I'm never going to have any fun. If you approach it that way, what that's going to do for your resilience is not helpful.
Yes.
It's not helpful because you'll end up, like we were saying in the beginning of the show, that feast and famine cycle and constantly doubting yourself and having anxiety. Like, you don't want to be there. So if you can instead approach it as, you know, something I say often to clients is, you're right where you're supposed to be all the time. And I encourage them to say it to themselves, because life in your body, especially your body as the feminine, just has this unexplainable, like magical way of telling you what needs to be healed right now and what you're ready for. And your body, she knows your capacity, she knows your bandwidth, she knows where you are in your world. She's never gonna give you more than you can handle. And I don't know if anyone else had this experience, but I've had experiences of like having blacked out trauma until I had enough safety in my body, and then I've remembered it, right? And that, to trust your body in that moment is so healing for your feminine, because now you're ready. Right? Life knows you're ready, the universe, whatever you believe in, your body knows you're ready. Just go with the next right step, but don't be afraid to enjoy it, and also don't be afraid to put it down. You know, there's a point where you need to like, okay, I felt my feelings. I tell my clients, so I teach them somatic release practices and how to even like set up a sacred somatic release space for themselves, the whole thing. I love a ritual. And when they're done, right? You feel it, you move through it again. I give them specific practices. And then afterward, containment. How do we box this up and put it away? And how can you go have fun? Because you're never going to keep healing if you never let yourself feel like you are healing and get to enjoy your life, right?
100%.
The point of life is not to heal. It's just to be, you know, enjoy, create, have fun. Yes. Expand, soul expansion. So,
yes. Healing takes time, but it shouldn't take all of your time. It just shouldn't. And I hate shoulding, but this is where you have to have some limits for yourself. From a nervous system perspective, you can overtax your system and it will create more trauma for you. I don't mean that to scare you. It's just when we're trying to heal at that level, you literally can only tolerate so much. The point of building capacity, kind of like a muscle at the gym, you have to find that upper limit and then you stop. You allow rest, you allow recuperation, and then you will see that you may get to that point again and you may need to rest and recuperate again, but the next time you're gonna get a little higher. And it's the same with your nervous system. This is kind of like a muscle in that way. And it's not about, you know, overdoing it the first time for the sake of healing. That can be really like, you know, exhilarating, and that limerence piece can come up a lot, but it's usually just activation in your nervous system that feels like butterflies on a new date. Like, it's the same thing. The real practice is to do it again and again and again, and to see, are my limits getting higher? That's a good measuring point that I use for my clients of like, are you actually building capacity? And if not, where do we need to scale back and give yourself permission to drop back a step and maybe play around with what if nothing's wrong with you? And what if you were actually the step behind where you are? If we could take the judgment out of that, I promise you're probably going to be able to push faster by assuming that you are a step behind where you think you are. You've probably intellectualized way far out. And to bring yourself back into your body is the
honey.
Yeah, that's the trick.
That's the goal. Well said.
Yeah.
I had a thought and then I was listening to you.
Same.
This is the problem when you have brilliant friends.
I know.
I was telling Courtney sometimes when we're recording, she's talking and I'll just be like this, listening, because our work is so similar, but the way Courtney says it is just different than how I say it. I'm sure it's vice versa, right?
Yeah,
our brains just weave in different ways, and I remember, oh wait,
yeah,
I'm working right now.
Yeah, it's work time. Yeah.
I need to show up. One common pattern I notice with my clients, or a limiting belief they have when they come in, is that they think in order to start dating or be with a partner, they have to be healed. And what that inadvertently says is, I am not worthy of love until I am healed, which is very different than, you know what, I think I need to take some time to be ready for a relationship. I've noticed these patterns I want to work through. And I love myself. I know I'm worthy. I know I could handle it if I were to fall in love now. You know what I mean? That's very different, but they're like, no, you don't understand. You know, I've been through so much. I need to fix myself before I'm lovable. That's the paradigm you want to stay out of, because that's a hamster wheel of chasing validation. And I'm willing to bet that there's a mirrored experience in your childhood that implanted the chasing validation feeling within you. Somewhere you learned to chase love and validation. I'm having my soft and secure mastermind clients this week go through a mother-father wound worksheet. So they can look at that exact childhood caregiver wounding, not what happened, but how you felt when it happened.
Yep.
Which tells us where the trauma, the rub, the sticking points are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such magical work. Feedback, which kind of leads us, like I do a very similar piece, because you can't move forward until you have looked at the experience and honored it for yourself.
Yeah.
It will be a thought thing until you have felt the impact of it.
Yep.
So, it's not something that you will be able to read and think your way through. It really does come down to, am I able to see this with compassion at least? Am I able to see it, first of all? That takes a ton of courage to begin with, but can I offer some compassion in that moment for the impact that had?
100%. I would say it like, until you feel your feelings, the energy is sitting in your body. That's because you have those feelings, whether you decide to feel them or not, to be honest, right? They're there, they're lingering, and you're just pushing them down like a dam underwater. When you let that dam break slowly over time, not all at once explosion, but you start learning these, somatic-based healing methods and how to set up the space and then close it, start to feel through those things, that's when the freedom in your body comes back. You don't feel that heaviness as much. And what happens is the energy that's stored in your body informs your belief system. So if you have a lot of trauma with men, for example, most of my clientele does, we go through and feel through those things through many, many sessions and their own private work too. It's not so much about, I need to read all these affirmations about the masculine and love and how easy it is, because it's never gonna land if all that energy is stuck in your body, I promise. That's the very forceful way of trying to make yourself heal, right? I got stuck there for a while. That's how I know.
Yeah.
But when you go through and clear the energy, your beliefs actually change naturally, because you're not harboring the resentment anymore. The resentment is an energy and emotion in your body, As it frees you, your thoughts naturally elevate, your frequency elevates, and you start to believe different things, and then you attract different experiences, and then you have corrective experiences with men, and it's just this big uptick. This is basically my whole soft and secure feminine energy framework.
Yep.
You have this uptick of the alignment of men, more and more empowered masculine men. So
amazing. I do think there is something so valuable about experiencing the moments where you are stuck and don't know, until we can create a container for you to experience that. And then it does just release. But I love that you said it can't be this like massive cathartic release. I actually feel, as I've been learning and doing training in the nervous system itself, feel pretty strongly against that. I used to think that that was like such a healing thing. And the more that I study how the nervous system actually works, that is going to push you into a freeze state. And you can stay stuck in freeze for a long time. And you'll think that that is what healing feels like, when it's just familiar freeze. And I'm glad that a lot of people are talking about the functional freeze now, because that is what can happen from a nervous system perspective when we have this huge rush of energy that we don't have capacity to hold. And so it really does take a process, a step-by-step, like here's what we want to unleash. We want to, do this particular thing. And then we do need to have some containment, some closure, and we need to be able to put it away. We need to be able to swing back and forth from the painful into the not painful, so that you're not overtaxing your system and creating more disruption, more anxiety, that kind of buzzy feeling that a lot of people get when they're like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. I just had a really great healing session. It's not always going to feel like buzzy and energizing, and that's usually actually a good sign. If you feel really tired or really kind of like activated, that might be that we need to keep building the capacity piece. So just as an FYI, maybe some new markers for yourself to look out for that might be helpful.
That reminds me of, you ever been on a cleaning frenzy? And what happens right after it? Freeze. For me, it's like, it's like, Courtney, I kind of ping pong too much. I need to ground myself. But if I start cleaning a room and then I notice something in the basket, and then I need to go put that thing back, and then I'm over by the laundry, I'm like, you know what? I could deep clean the laundry. Let me just
a
pull
manic
all this
nesting?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And now you've gone to every room in your house and pulled it out and left it looking like shit. And you haven't accomplished anything. And then what happens? I don't know about you guys, but I freeze. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed.
Same. I mean, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yes. That we actually do need, that it would be better to take smaller chunks, finish them, and move forward. And notice that that is progressive healing. You are actually moving forward in that way. And that's where, when I was saying it's not sexy, it feels like an inch you've moved forward, but you've moved forward an inch instead of swirling in this like 2-inch circle where you're going forward an inch, back 2 inches, forward an inch, back 2 inches. We actually want to be able to move forward and hold that ground, and notice and accept that holding the ground is, sometimes you have to fight to hold ground, and that is nothing to be ashamed of, wow, it feels really difficult to just hold where I am. Awesome.
That's the stretch.
That means that you are healing. The fact that you can stay where you're at and acknowledge that it's challenging, and acknowledge that you're staying where you are because you're still feeling the challenge. My hat's off to you. That is the most embodied, empowered, feminine way of healing.
And let yourself arrive in it, right?
Let yourself be there.
Yeah. You cleaned one little thing up from your body. That's a win, because they're all, I call them micro moments of healing. That's how they add up. That's how it happens. Think about how you'd clean out a whole house, right? You do it place by place by place, under the sink, and then in the fridge. And like eventually it all feels organized. Just step by step by step. Don't try to bust it wide open.
The whole house. Yes.
Yeah.
You end up with piles of stuff everywhere.
And speaking of, we didn't even write this down. We take notes mostly because of my brain.
Because we want to stay focused for you.
Because you get so inspired. But speaking of community, please find people, right, that get it, that speak your language. If you don't have those people in your world, I don't know, find the podcast listeners. Also, we do group programs. I feel like that's the bonus of group program. We do them separately, or in the mastermind that I have, the Soft and Secure Mastermind, right? Like your bonus is that people who speak the same language, who are going through the same work that you are. And I know that's really what formed Courtney and I's friendship.
How we met.
I was telling Court today, I don't even think I know your favorite color, but I could tell you most of your childhood trauma. Because all we talk about is that in depth, like, what are you struggling with and where does it come from? And how are you doing with feeling through that? Like, it's just so meaningful that I learned Courtney's middle name today. And she learned my middle name.
3 years in.
3 years in, because we've done so much more, intimate, like bonding sisterhood work than anything else. So finding those people, I really believe that we are not meant to do it alone. Otherwise, we'd be on the planet by ourselves, but we're not. So find your safe and trusted people, or pray for them, draw them in, put the energy towards it, whatever your belief is. But you gotta find some community, because it's really, really lonely to do deep trauma healing work and to do it by yourself and never know, like, am I on the right path? Am I not? Am I normal? Am I not? That's when most people turn in on themselves, by the way. Is this normal?
Yep.
But just Courtney and I had a conversation earlier. I won't share the details, but she said something and I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing that too. Oh yeah. And she was like, you have? And I was like, yes, I have. And I'm glad to hear you say that. She was like, I'm glad to hear you say that. All of a sudden it's not lonely and you're not broken. You're just human, right?
Yes. Yeah, the things where you can say, hey, I've hit my limit of doing this myself. Doesn't mean that you're not leading yourself. It just means that I need to be seen as a human by another human. There's something magic that happens when two nervous systems can, regulate together. That is, we're proving that now. So I love that you said that, because that is the gift of group work, is being introduced to people that you wouldn't meet in your day job or in your friend circle now, or, at your church or whatever. You have lots of people in your world that you get along with, but may not have capacity to either speak this language, which can create a lot of lonely feelings, and or are not able to hold that level of vulnerability, and it will trigger them, and that will counter trigger you. Like it will be the reflection that mirrors what you're trying to heal, and sometimes that being aware of that and not sharing those things can be really helpful. But when you have safe people that you can just be transparent, that is the healing.
Safe and trusted people is the key.
Yes. Yeah, which is why some of my best work has been with a coach or in a group. I love a group.
Yeah. You were just saying that earlier.
I love groups. I just think there is something so magical about working this stuff out and being witnessed. That the being witnessed part is...
I honestly think
sound dampening.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, before we started, I was saying that, pin that.
Thank you.
Write it down. Before we started, I was just saying, it feels like when you're trying to heal by yourself, you're in an echo chamber. You are left with your own thoughts, your own upper limits, your own beliefs and patterns and nervous system. You have nothing to bounce it off of. Even just expressing, hey, this is where I'm struggling, which is what I was sharing earlier with Brie. Like, wow, I'm really struggling with this. I'm just stuck in this space and it's difficult for me. And just her acknowledging, wow, I see that and I struggle with that sometimes too, is enough to stop the reverb. It doesn't bounce back again, and that's what I'm hearing anymore. It's just like a sound dampening thing on the wall in a music studio. Like, it creates more clarity of what is trying to be expressed, because it's not this like cacophony of noise anymore.
Yeah, it's very de-shaming too.
Yes, yes. So as much as you can do by yourself, that's amazing. And I find the high achieving women, especially my clients, want to do this healing on their own because they're capable of it, and they will find themselves in this trap of like trying to do it perfectly. And they actually need a little bit of outside reflection to stop the shame.
Yeah, well said. I don't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh no.
I need to like let it, I don't know what needs to come back. But no, I agree with you. I think that's where a lot of people turn in on themselves, is when they're trying to heal by themselves. And also, it was something along this thread that I was thinking about, but this idea that if I don't do it all on my own, then I'm weak. And I should be able to do it all on my own. And why can't I? And that again creates more shame and more turning in on yourself. And I gotta be honest, like, I actually don't think I would have healed very much at all had I not worked with therapists, mentors, had safe and trusted people I could call. Like, when there are hard moments, I really think we all need somebody to just, like Courtney and I always say, hold the basket. And it feels lighter, and it might not be fixed, it might not solve your problem, but the emotional weight is lighter, and that is the healing. Not that you all of a sudden are like madly in love and have all the money and never have problems. That's not even the point. The point is, like Court was saying earlier, to develop the bandwidth to go through it. So we need people to offload with, and also people to challenge us. I'll just say from a friendship perspective, like I love when I have friends that will challenge me. Like Courtney will do it in very kind ways. I have 2 other really close friends who will overtly ask me, yeah, it feels like you're projecting. I'll just be like, you're right. You know, but to have those safe and trusted people who will call you out, who know where you're at, who've been through similar things, or they're trying, right? They're trying to understand you and can give you that good balance of compassion and challenge. If you don't have those people in your world, that is when probably mentorship or some sort of community is really good to find those people, you know. But I will say prayer and intention has worked wonders for me with attracting the right friendships, to be honest.
Yeah, to know where to invest.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to do it alone. I really don't think that's even how we're designed to do it. And honestly, I think it would be quite impossible and too heavy. One of my good friends, Katie, we've referenced this for her before. I was going through something and I said, she was the person I would talk to about it. And I said, I really want to tell my family what's going on, but I'm afraid that I'm going to burden them with it. Like, it's just too heavy, you know? She was like, you know, what I've come to know is that it feels really heavy for you or for me because we were the ones who went through it. We have all the emotion, we have all the impact. But I don't feel heavy right now where you've told me every detail of it and it wasn't my experience. It's not that heavy. I'm listening to you. I love you. I'm sad that happened, but I'm not holding it like that because it wasn't my experience. Which, by the way, led to the domino effect of me finally being able to talk to all these people in my world. Because she made it so clear. She has so many little nuggets of brilliance. It's not as heavy for other people as it is for you because you're the one holding it, you know? So I don't know. I hope that gives you some permission to lean on your safe and trusted people.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So good. Well, I think we're just both very present right now because I keep having these thoughts and I'm like, hold it, and then it goes away. And
Yes.
it'll come back
We're
if
too
it's
inspired.
meant to. But yeah, I love that.
Any other concepts you want to go through?
Well, the one that was coming to mind, but that was beautiful. I think shout out to Katie's wisdom. That is probably a good place.
You got one more in you, I can tell. It's not, we were saying it's not heavy for everybody else. It's your felt experience. That's why it's heavier for you. Community and sisterhood and healing.
Oh, well, sometimes that is the healing, is to ask for help. Oh, this is where I was going to go. Remember a couple years ago, and I don't think this is oversharing because we're beyond this, but when we were super into like learning about how to hold our own stuff and we had to unlearn how to share.
Ooh, this is so good. Keep going.
We had to unlearn how to share, relearn how to share because we got so good at like healing the codependent part of me that needs you to fix my problems. And then I was like, I got it. Yeah. When you go from like emotional dumping to holding and containing yourself, you have to find the middle ground of like, you know, sharing. Because then I realized like, wow, I'm a little emotionally stingy and have been learning over the past couple of years how to share in a way that's calibrated for me, that's not bleh, but also is aware of what it feels like to be on the receiving end, which we have a whole masterclass on this if you need help with this. We have 2 whole masterclasses on this for the masculine and the feminine to learn how to do this in a way that feels really mutually honoring. But to learn how to share what's happening and reveal it, that is the healing most of the time. The art of the revealing is usually where the wound happened, and that is going to be the medicine in my experience.
Ooh. And you would know maybe more about this than I would, but something I've learned about the nervous system work is that the expression is the goal. It's not necessarily, you know, the containment or saying it this way or that way. It's like getting yourself to express is the regulated thing. Not that you don't have any feelings, not that you never feel discomfort, because that's human bodies are designed to have that wax and wane and feel the full spectrum of human emotions. The expression is when you know you've hit the honey, like yes, you're healing and moving forward. But don't misinterpret that as the wounded feminine spilling, dumping, expressing with no boundaries and saying what you want because you're healed and expressing. Not that I think any of you would do that. I'm more speaking to like maybe past versions of my teenage self who would have misinterpreted that, you know? Yeah, expression is like you've sat with it, you know how you feel, and you're able to share
it, yeah.
in an empowered way. Yeah. So well said.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know how to do this, or you feel like, yes, I want community, I want support. More importantly, I want a roadmap of somebody who knows right where I am and who knows the path to get me where I want to be, to be in healthy, happy, functional relationship, or even just single, happy, healthy, period, right? Peaceful on your own. This is the work that Court and I do. This is how we support women every day. So if that's something that you're wanting, you're truly serious about shifting, we both have applications. They'll be in the show notes. You can fill them out if you want to work with either of us. Otherwise, the master classes are an excellent place to start because it's like, I don't know, $99 per class. I think the bundle partners is the code. You get them all for half off. That's a great way to really celebrate yourself in the new year. Yeah.
You know, I just want to say that because, again, from a nervous system perspective, if you are starting this and you're not sure what you have capacity for, it's safe to start with education. There is something really magic about understanding something and then letting it integrate. Because a lot of times when emotions have been locked down, what I am learning is when emotions have been locked down, we actually have to reduce the fight or flight by seeing it, what's happening. And that is very cerebral. So like we did just talk about, don't try to think your way through this, but that doesn't mean that you don't need new education and new perspective. That can still go a long way in unlocking this like integration. Once you're in the integration phase, what we have just been talking about of like, I'm stuck here, I'm beating myself up, I've been here before, I can't get past this one particular piece, I see myself here again, oh, I'm never gonna figure it out. That's when you need a little bit of emotional support, and that's where Bri and I can come in and help with the body-based piece of releasing that stuck energy is very different. So just wanna give that kind of contextually, depending on where you're at, or if you don't know where you're at, then that would be a really great place to start, because it is like $150 for 3 really in-depth training.
Totally. Well said. And I'm sure you do this in your work too. There's a lot of information, at least I know in my courses, there's so much information in reframes and shifts in perspective and education. And I think where Court and I both shift in our coaching is, now what do you do with it? We're going to help you with the tangible piece. We're not just talking about your feelings. Like, I will sit there and let you feel that shit. You know what I mean? That's the homework. So if you really want to tangibly move that needle, you're safe with either of us. And TikTok has good information, clips of the episode. We'll start that back up again soon for the Love of Men podcast. The For the Love of Men podcast on Instagram. We're going to kick that up again soon. We're just stretching our own bandwidth, really. We love to record. Like, that's what we love to do. So we put the other things on the back burner.
This is priority. Everything else is falling in line.
The show for you guys. If you love this, please share it. Thank you so much for all the shares last year. We're kind of like so inspired by the growth. And if you wouldn't mind giving us a rating that you feel is appropriate, that would really help us rank in the relationships category, which would get our show out to more people. So that's amazing. Thank you for those of you who have done that. If you want more from Courtney, it's in the show notes. If you want more from me, it's in the show notes. Anything else, Court?
I think that's it.
Great. We'll see you next week.